My mom always said she wanted the best for me. But as I got older, I realized her definition of the best was just another word for control. I'm Priya, 27F, and if you'd told me 5 years ago that my life would become a cautionary tale about family, money, and self-worth, I would have laughed. I thought I was just another daughter in a big, loud, complicated family. But I was wrong. I was the main character in a story I never asked to be in. Growing up, my mom, Sunita, was the queen of our world. She ran our house with an iron fist and a perfectly manicured hand. She was the kind of mom who could make a 5-course meal while simultaneously gossiping on the phone and critiquing my posture. My dad, Raj, was quieter, always working, always tired, always in the background. My older brother, Arjun, was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. And then there was me, Priya, the good girl, the one who never talked back, who got good grades, who did everything right, or so I thought. My mom's favorite phrase was, "We do things for family." It was her answer to everything. Why did I have to give up my Saturday to help her friend's daughter with homework? Family. Why did I have to wear that itchy, ugly dress to the wedding? Family. Why did I have to smile and nod when relatives made snide comments about my weight, my skin, my hair? Family. I learned early on that my feelings were less important than keeping the peace. But as I got older, I started to see the cracks. The way my mom would brag about Arjun's job, his car, his girlfriend, but never mention my scholarship or my internship. The way she'd dismiss my dreams of becoming a writer as cute but unrealistic. You need a real job, Priya. Something stable, something that makes us look good. I tried to ignore it. I tried to be grateful. But the resentment grew, quietly, like a weed in the garden she loved so much. The real turning point came the year I turned 25. I'd just finished my master's degree in English literature, and I was working as a junior editor at a small publishing house. It wasn't glamorous, and the pay was barely enough to cover rent, but I loved it. I loved the smell of books, the thrill of discovering new voices, the satisfaction of seeing my name in the acknowledgments. For the first time, I felt like I was building something of my own. But my mom didn't see it that way. To her, my job was a hobby, a phase I'd grow out of. She started dropping hints about settling down, about thinking of the future. At first, I brushed it off. I wasn't ready for marriage, and I definitely wasn't interested in the endless parade of suitable boys she kept mentioning. But she was relentless. Every phone call, every family dinner, every holiday visit turned into an interrogation. "When are you going to get serious, Priya? Don't you want to make us proud?" I tried to explain that I was happy, that I was working hard, that I wanted to focus on my career. But she didn't want to hear it. She'd sigh dramatically, shake her head and say, "You're being selfish. You're not thinking about the family." It was always about the family. Then, one Sunday afternoon, everything changed. I was at home, curled up on the couch with a manuscript when my mom called. Her voice was unusually cheerful, almost giddy. "Priya, Beta, I have wonderful news. My friend Mina's son, Rohan, is coming to visit next week. He's just back from America, working in finance, very successful. I told Mina you'd meet him for coffee." I froze. I'd heard about Rohan before. He was the golden boy of my mom's social circle, the one all the aunties whispered about. But I'd never met him, and I definitely hadn't agreed to any coffee date. "Mom, I'm busy next week. I have deadlines." "Nonsense," she interrupted. "This is important. Rohan is a good boy. He's looking for a wife. Mina and I have talked, and we think you'd be perfect together." I felt my stomach drop. "Mom, I don't even know him. I'm not interested in getting married right now." There was a pause, and then her voice turned cold. "Priya, don't be difficult. This is a good match. Rohan's family is very well off. He can give you a good life. You won't have to struggle anymore." That was the first time she said it out loud. The real reason behind her obsession. Money, status, security. Not my happiness, not my dreams, but her idea of success. I tried to keep my voice steady. "I'm not struggling, Mom. I like my job. I'm happy." She scoffed. "Happy? Living in that tiny apartment, working for peanuts? You think that's happiness? You're being foolish. You're throwing away your future." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that my future was mine to decide, that I didn't want to marry a stranger for money, that I deserved more than being a pawn in her social games. But all I could manage was, "I'm not meeting Rohan. Please stop." She hung up without another word. The next week was a blur of angry texts, missed calls, and guilt trips. My dad called once, awkward and apologetic, asking if I could just meet him for your mother's sake. Arjun texted, "Just go, Priya. It'll make her happy. You don't have to say yes." But I knew better. With my mom, a coffee date was never just a coffee date. It was a contract, a promise, a trap. When I didn't show up, my mom lost it. She called me at work, screaming so loudly my coworkers could hear through the phone. "You're ungrateful. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? You're embarrassing us in front of everyone. Mina is humiliated. Rohan is humiliated. I'm humiliated. You're not my daughter anymore." I sat at my desk, shaking, trying not to cry. My boss, a kind woman named Lisa, brought me a cup of tea and told me to take the rest of the day off. I went home, curled up in bed, and let myself feel the weight of it all. The anger, the shame, the heartbreak. I'd always known my mom cared more about appearances than my happiness, but hearing her say it, hearing her disown me, was a pain I wasn't prepared for. But as the days passed, something shifted. The silence from my family was deafening, but it was also freeing. For the first time, I didn't have to answer to anyone. I didn't have to explain myself, justify my choices, or pretend to be someone I wasn't. I was alone, yes, but I was also free. I wish I could say that freedom felt like a celebration, like the first day of summer after a long, cold winter. But the truth is, it was terrifying. I'd spent my whole life measuring my worth by my mother's approval, by the way relatives looked at me, by the stories my family told about me at every gathering. Now suddenly, I was invisible. No more invitations to family dinners. No more texts from my mom reminding me to call my grandmother. No more updates from Arjun about his latest promotion or his girlfriend's new car. The silence was a void, and for a while I didn't know how to fill it. But I had work. I threw myself into editing, taking on extra manuscripts, volunteering for late nights and weekend projects. My boss, Lisa, noticed. She started giving me more responsibility, letting me sit in on meetings with authors, even asking for my opinion on cover designs and marketing plans. For the first time, I felt like my voice mattered. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could build something for myself. Still, the loneliness crept in at night. I'd scroll through social media, seeing photos of my cousins at family weddings, my brother at Diwali celebrations, my mom smiling with her friends. I wondered if they missed me, if they talked about me, if they cared at all. Sometimes I'd get a text from my dad, short and awkward, "Hope you're well." I never knew how to respond. I missed him, but I couldn't forgive him for standing by while my mom tried to sell me off like a prize cow. Then, one Friday evening, everything changed. I was working late, editing a debut novel by a young author who reminded me of myself, quiet, determined, desperate to be heard. My phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "Priya, it's Rohan. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I hadn't spoken to Rohan, hadn't even met him, but I knew who he was. I hesitated, then replied, "About what?" He called immediately. His voice was calm, polite, but there was an edge to it. "I just wanted to apologize. My mom and your mom, they got a little carried away. I never agreed to any of this. I'm not looking to get married right now either. I'm sorry you got dragged into it." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Thank you. I appreciate that." He laughed a little bitterly. "Indian moms, right? They think they can plan our whole lives. I just wanted you to know I'm not mad. I hope you're okay." We talked for a few minutes, awkward but honest. He told me about his job, his plans to move to London, his frustration with his own family's expectations. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. There were others like me, caught between tradition and independence, trying to carve out a life that made sense. After that call, something shifted. I started reaching out to old friends, people I'd lost touch with because my mom didn't approve of them. I joined a book club, started going to open mic nights, even signed up for a writing workshop. I was terrified, but I was also alive in a way I hadn't been in years. Work became my anchor. Lisa promoted me to senior editor, a title I'd dreamed of but never thought I'd earn so soon. I started mentoring interns, helping them find their voices, encouraging them to take risks. I poured my heart into every project, every manuscript, every late-night brainstorming session, and slowly my world began to expand. But my family didn't disappear. My mom's silence was a constant ache, a reminder of everything I'd lost. Sometimes I'd see her at the market or at a temple event, and she'd look right through me, as if I were a stranger. My dad would send the occasional text, always vague, always careful. Arjun stopped calling altogether. I wondered if he blamed me, if he thought I'd brought shame on the family. Then, one afternoon, I got a call from my grandmother. She was the only one who'd never taken sides, who'd always slipped me extra sweets when my mom wasn't looking, who'd told me stories about her own rebellious youth. "Priya, beta, come visit me," she said. "I miss you." I went to her house that weekend, nervous and unsure. She hugged me tight, her hands trembling. "Your mother is stubborn," she whispered, "but you are strong. I'm proud of you." We sat in her garden, drinking chai and watching the sunset. She told me about her own arranged marriage, about the dreams she'd given up, about the regrets she carried. "Don't let anyone tell you what your life should be," she said. "Not even your mother. Especially not your mother." Her words stayed with me. I started writing again, pouring my pain and hope and anger into stories. I wrote about mothers and daughters, about love and loss, about the price of freedom. I submitted my work to magazines, to contests, to anyone who would read it. Most of the time I got rejections, but sometimes I got a yes. The first time I saw my name in print, I cried. Not because I'd made it, but because I'd done it on my own. No shortcuts, no family connections, no one to smooth the way. Just me, my words, and the stubborn belief that I deserved to be heard. As the months passed, my life took on a new rhythm. Work, writing, friends, the occasional visit to my grandmother. I learned to cook for one, to fix a leaky faucet, to change a tire. I learned that loneliness wasn't the same as failure, that being alone could be a kind of strength. I learned that I could survive without my mother's approval, without my family's applause. But just as I started to feel settled, to believe that maybe I could build a life on my own terms, my mom came back into my life with a vengeance. She showed up at my apartment on a rainy Thursday evening, unannounced, her sari soaked and her hair plastered to her forehead. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She looked smaller, older, as if the months of silence had worn her down. For a moment, I thought she might apologize, that maybe she'd come to make peace. But as soon as I opened the door, she brushed past me, dripping water onto the floor, and started scanning the room with that same critical eye I remembered from childhood. "You're still living here?" she said, her voice sharp, as if the very sight of my tiny living room offended her. "I thought by now you'd have come to your senses." I closed the door quietly, bracing myself. "What do you want, Mom?" She turned to face me, her eyes hard. "I want you to stop embarrassing this family. People are talking, Priya. They say you're stubborn, ungrateful, that you think you're better than us. Mina's family is furious. Rohan's engagement fell through because of you. Do you know how that makes us look?" I felt the old anger rising, but I kept my voice steady. "I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to live my life." She shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You're so selfish. You think your happiness is more important than your family's reputation? You think you can survive on your own, with your little job and your silly stories? You're nothing without us, Priya. Nothing." For a moment, I almost believed her. The words stung, echoing every doubt I'd ever had. But then I remembered the nights I'd spent editing manuscripts, the stories I'd written, the friends I'd made, the life I'd built piece by piece. I remembered my grandmother's words. "Don't let anyone tell you what your life should be." "I'm not nothing," I said quietly. "I'm just not yours to control anymore." She stared at me, her face unreadable. For a moment, I thought she might soften, that she might see me, not as a disappointment, but as a daughter who'd fought for her own happiness. But then she turned away, her voice cold. "If you walk away from this family, don't expect anything from us. No help, no support, nothing. You're on your own." I nodded. "I've been on my own for a while now, Mom, and I'm doing just fine." She left without another word, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the silence, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. But I didn't cry. Not this time. I'd spent too many years mourning the mother I wished I had, the family I wanted. Now I was done. The weeks that followed were hard. My mom made good on her threat. She cut me off completely. No calls, no texts, no invitations. She told the rest of the family that I'd betrayed them, that I was ungrateful, that I'd chosen my own selfish dreams over their love. Some relatives believed her. Others reached out quietly, offering awkward words of support. But for the most part, I was alone. But I wasn't defeated. If anything, my mother's rejection became fuel. I worked harder than ever, taking on freelance editing projects, pitching articles, building a portfolio that was entirely my own. I started a blog sharing my story, anonymously at first, then under my own name. To my surprise, people responded. Women messaged me from all over the world, telling me their own stories of family pressure, of arranged marriages, of choosing themselves for the first time. I realized I wasn't just surviving, I was inspiring others to do the same. My career took off. I was offered a position as a lead editor at a new publishing startup, with a salary that made my old job look like pocket change. I moved into a bigger apartment, one with sunlight streaming through the windows and enough space for a real writing desk. I published my first collection of essays, and it was shortlisted for a national award. My blog grew, and I was invited to speak at conferences, to mentor young writers, to share my journey with audiences who saw themselves in my words. And slowly, the loneliness faded. I built a new family, friends who cheered for my successes, colleagues who respected my work, readers who found hope in my story. My grandmother remained my anchor, her pride in me unwavering. She came to every book launch, every reading, her eyes shining with tears and laughter. One day, as I was preparing for a radio interview, I got a letter in the mail. It was from my mother. The handwriting was shaky, the words formal. She wrote that she'd heard about my success, that people were talking about me now, not as a disappointment, but as someone to be admired. She didn't apologize, not really, but she said she hoped I was happy. She said she missed me. I read the letter twice, then tucked it away in a drawer. I didn't know if I was ready to forgive her, or if I ever would be. But I knew one thing for sure, I was happy. Not because I'd proven her wrong, but because I'd proven myself right. I'd built a life on my own terms, a life filled with purpose and passion and peace. I'd learned that love isn't about obedience or sacrifice or keeping up appearances. It's about respect, about letting each other grow, about choosing each other every day. And if my mother couldn't see that, if my family couldn't accept it, that was their loss, not mine. So to anyone out there who's been told they're not enough, who's been pressured to give up their dreams for someone else's approval, I want you to know, you are enough. You are worthy of love, of happiness, of a life that's truly your own. Don't let anyone, no matter how much they claim to love you, convince you otherwise. If you've ever had to walk away from family to protect your peace, or if you're still struggling to find your voice, share your story in the comments. You're not alone. And if you're watching from somewhere far away, let me know where you're tuning in from. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories. Your support means more than you know. Because in the end, the greatest success isn't proving someone else wrong. It's proving to yourself that you were right to believe in your own worth all along.